Good morning. We're just going to give folks a moment to clear the waiting room and connect to audio.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. Thank you. As a reminder to folks entering from the waiting room, please do remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board.
This is Steve Halen from the Courtyard Marriott. Should I be on mute right now?
Yes, please. You should be on mute right now. Your item will be called later on this hearing. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, June 6th, 2023. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the city of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Thank you, Danny. Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran.
Thank you very much. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. And once again, as a reminder, please do remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. Once again, all testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. And due to a scheduling conflict, we will be taking one item out of order this morning. We will be starting with item number 8 and then returning to the top of the agenda. So we'll be calling item number 8, Big Causeway LLC, doing business as Big Night Live, Studio B, Guy Fieri's Tequila Cocina, located at 110 Causeway Street. Date of the incident was December 31st, 2022. Person under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 34. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Kristen Scanlon for the licensee, and with us this morning is Charlie Kane, who is the Director of Security.
Thank you very much. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Saturday, December 31st, 2022. Signed Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD license premise unit, conducted a license premise inspection of Big Night Live located at 110 Causeway Street in Boston. As detectives were walking through the establishment, they observed a young-looking patron drinking an alcoholic beverage, a High Noon Seltzer. Detectives asked him to produce identification to confirm his age. The patron immediately stated he was under 21 years of age and provided detectives a copy of his driver's license. The patron was identified as Nicholas Ferrulo, 2/14 of 03, with a valid Mass driver's license. Mr. Ferrulo will be summoned into court for person at under 21 possession of alcohol. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Ron Abbott. As a result of what detectives was verifying, Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 059774 for persons under 21 possession of alcohol. Mr. Abbott signed for an accepted notice. That's all.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Detective Hernandez. Just one brief question. Was all staff, when you were at the premises that evening, cooperative with police?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Thank you very much.
You're
Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, this particular evening, it was New Year's Eve, and the licensee learned shortly after the Boston police were inside the premises, that the patron had been previously having dinner with the DJ who was set to perform for New Year's Eve at this premises. And the patron subsequently went through the back door behind the stage with the DJ and acquired the alcoholic beverage. While it wasn't sold directly to the patron, the licensee certainly does acknowledge that the patron was in possession and regrets the error. It is of particular note that thousands of patrons go through their doors annually and everyone is ID'd. They have frequently updated scanners at all their locations, including this one. They've never had an issue with underage possession, I believe, at any of their locations and throughout the city. There is now security stationed at the back door earlier and at all times so that no one gets past unless they're 21 plus. There obviously was a hole in the system that is now buttoned up. Again, the licensee regrets the error, but aims to never let it happen again. And Mr. Kane is here to answer any of the questions that the board has.
Thank you very much. We'll turn to the board for any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions of the licensee?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Curran, any questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon?
None for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Returning to the top of the agenda, calling item number 1, Lansdowne Boston Restaurant LLC, doing business as House of Blues, located at 15 to 41 Lansdowne Street. Date of the incident, February 19th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Oh, Attorney Quilty, you're on mute. Hang on 1 second.
Sorry about that. Good morning, Attorney Green, Dennis Quilty, attorney. Excuse me. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Dennis Quilty representing the licensee. With me this morning is Martina Rosenbaum, who's the operations manager. In addition, Joseph Dunn and Declan Megan, who are both involved in the operations of the club. Good morning.
Morning. Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Fencer from District 4.
Thank you, Detective Fencer. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Franklin Ortiz, Boston Police.
Thank you very much. Could you all please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Fencer, will you be reading the police report into the record?
I will.
Thank you. You may proceed.
So this report was written by Officer Joseph Glenn about 2300 on Sunday, 2/19/2023, while working at 15 Lansdowne Street, House of Blues detail. Officer Glenn was informed by Emily Brezhnehan, House of Blues security, of an assault and battery report. Officer spoke to victim Mia Mancini, who stated that while on the dance floor, she was knocked down by suspect female Alexi Khan. The victim stated that she also pushed the suspect only after she was pushed. The victim then states that she was involved in numerous altercations between the two suspects, Alexi Khan and her boyfriend, Nathan Kastner. The victim stated that the suspect threw an alcoholic drink at her, so she threw one back. She also stated that the female suspect pulled her hair, so she pulled the suspect's hair. The victim also states that Nathan poured water on her and pushed her, so she also poured water on the suspect and pushed him. Officer, while speaking to the victim, had to keep the suspect, Nathan Kastner, who was yelling at the victim, away from each other. Officer told the suspect to leave the area, as House of Blues security informed me they had his name, so officer wanted to try and separate the parties. Suspect Nathan Kastner did yell that the victim assaulted him and his friends before walking away. Officer Glenn had a unit give the victim and her friends a ride to their hotel so they wouldn't encounter the suspects. On 3/2/2023, Detective Fencer in the Delta 801, along with Detective Stoddard in the Delta 843, responded to the House of Blues located at 15 Lansdowne Street and issued the establishment license premise inspection notice 026484, assault and battery patron on patron.
Thank you very much. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, I just have a few questions for the detective. Good morning, Detective.
Morning.
You actually wrote up the license premise inspection notice a week or so later. Is that correct?
That is.
And so you have no personal knowledge of the incident that happened the night before you were reading the other officer's report?
I don't know.
Okay, and in that report, it does indicate that that Officer Glenn was working a paid detail at the establishment on the night in question,
That's correct.
and that he was approached by House of Blues security to tell him what was going on, and they assisted and stood by at that point. Is that about what happened?
Yes, from the report, that sounds correct, yes.
And they cooperated with you?
They did when I went there, yes, absolutely.
And the police officer was assigned as indicated. And no follow-up on this from the detective's point of view?
Say that again?
Was there any follow-up after this incident by yourself or other detectives?
Yes, I did follow up with the parties that were involved, and all parties decided that they didn't want to pursue any further action on this matter.
And detective, as far as you could see or are concerned, did the establishment, the employees do what they were supposed to do on the night in question and cooperate with you? I'm
Yes,
sorry, sir.
yes, yeah, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions. And Ms. Rosenbaum is here, and Mr. Dunn, Mr. Megan, if there are any questions from the board.
Thank you for that. We'll turn to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions of the licensee or the detective?
Thank you. How long were these people in the establishment before security was made aware?
Martina, do you
I
know?
couldn't be sure what time they actually came in. The show did start around 8 p.m. and the first call that we were involved in was at around 10:50.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon?
Just what was the first call? Was the fight happening at that point, or were they just being troublesome?
It was a call of a fight happening on the dance floor. Yeah.
So was there any indication that there was trouble going to happen before the fight actually broke out?
Not that we were aware of, no.
Okay, thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
And calling item number 2, which concerns the same licensee, Lansdowne Boston Restaurant LLC, doing business as House of Blues, located at 15 to 41 Lansdowne Street. Date of this incident, March 6th, 2023, patron on patron assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Yeah, once again, Attorney Green, Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee with the same individuals, Ms. Rosenbaum, Mr. Dunn, and Mr. Megan, available as needed. Good morning again, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James Govan.
Franklin Ortiz.
Thank you very much. Can you please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Govan, will you be reading the police report into the record?
Yes.
Thank you. You may please proceed.
About 10 p.m., March 5th, 2023, officers Taylor, Ortiz, and Gately were alerted of a fight that occurred at 15 Lansdowne Street in Boston, Mass. Officers were conducting a paid detail at the House of Blues when members of security staff were alerted officers of a fight. Officers were trying to locate the parties involved and were directed to the victim, Christina Veras. Victim stated that she was assaulted by another patron and was punched in the upper head neck area. The other patron, Sarita Lembrick, was off with security staff members. The victim was treated by EMS, who were on a paid detail as well. The victim stated she had bruising and swelling in her neck area. Officers observed her holding an ice pack on the right side of the neck. Victim stated that she, at the time, wanted to press charges. Officers told her that a report would be written. She should possibly seek additional medical attention. About 4:30 on Friday, March 10th, Detective Govan, Sergeant Detective Carroll conducted a code 35 at House of Blues. Officers met with GM Buyer. He was able to produce up-to-date licenses for the business. Buyer was issued license premise inspection notice citation 006008 for patron on patron assault and battery, which occurred on March 5th at about 10 p.m.
Thank you very much. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, can I ask Detective Govan a couple of questions, please? Detective Govan, the last part of your report, which you just read, was that Mr. Buyer was cooperative throughout the process. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
And your involvement was after the fact. You were not involved on the night in question. Is that correct?
I was not.
Okay, thank you, sir. As indicated in the report of the officers on site, they were conducting a paid detail. And it also appears there was an EMS detail on site as well. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of that.
It was in the report that you just read, though.
Yes, EMS responded.
And it also indicates that the police were advised by members of the House of Blues security staff that the incident was going down.
Sure.
Okay. Lisa signed. And again, in your opinion, sir, did the establishment cooperate and do what they should have done in the circumstances?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Thank you again, Madam Chair. Ms. Rosenbaum, who's the operations director, and in both this and the other one, security footage is available if requested.
Your Chairman Joyce, any questions?
questions?
Yeah, please, for the security video, is there anything or was there anything that you could figure out led up to this punching in the head?
We got a radio call around 9:35 where we were keeping an eye on the suspects. They had seen her red top was very bright and vivid, and they were kind of, as we started watching them, that's right when it occurred. We had seen them kind of getting a little agitated, and then as we started keeping an eye on them, that's when this started, and we made the call and got down to them. And when they said they wanted to, when the victim said they wanted to press charges, that's when we got the police involved.
Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
Nothing for me, thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board will take this under advisement as well. Thank you. Calling item number 3, 175 Ipswich Street LLC, located at 175 Ipswich Street, date of the incident February 24th, 2023. Assault and battery, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning again, Mr. Green. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me is Meg Kelly, the operations manager, Scott Hentosh, who's the director of security, and as additionally Mr. Dunn and Mr. Megan, who are also involved in the operations of this licensee. Good morning.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Fencer from District 4.
Thank you, Detective Fencer. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Detective Fencer. If you could please proceed with the police report.
Okay, so this report was written by Officer Michael Doyle. About 22:40 p.m. On February 25th, victim who was identified above entered area D4 to report an assault at 2 Lansdowne Street. Victim informed officer he was at the concert at MGM Music Hall on 2/24/2023 and that he had an altercation with the unknown suspect described above inside a mosh pit. Victim states he was punched multiple times by an unknown suspect and his glasses, which are described, were lost during the altercation. The victim says he spoke to security, who declined to assist the victim. The victim had no injuries to report and just wanted to make the police aware of this incident. At about 7:02 p.m. on 3/16/2023, Detective Fencer in the Delta 801, along with Detective Texera and the Delta 820, responded to the MGM music hall located at 2 Lansdowne Street and issued license premise inspection notice citation 026485 for an assault and battery patron on patron.
Thank you very much. Attorney Colte, would you like to address the alleged incident?
If I may, just a few questions for the detective. Good morning again, Detective.
Morning, sir.
Once again, you wrote this matter up subsequent to the incident which the person walked in to report. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And my math isn't great, but it was about 3 weeks later.
It was, yes.
Okay. So you have no personal knowledge. This was a walk-in by an individual to the station. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. When you went in, your notice, violation notice indicates that management was cooperative. Is that correct?
Completely, that's correct.
Did they indicate to you that they were unaware of the incident? Anybody tell you?
Yes, at the time, I believe, because we did not get any video of it when we were talking about it, because it happened inside that mosh pit. There was a lot of people in that area, and yeah, I don't believe that they were aware at the time that it happened.
Okay. Excuse me, but they cooperated with you.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you, sir. No further questions. I would like to ask Ms. Excuse me, Ms. Kelly and Mr. Hintosh a few questions, if I may. Thank you. First of all, Mr. Hintosh, can you just identify yourself here? You've been sworn. State your name for the record and your position with the licensee.
Yes, Scott Hintosh. I'm the security manager at the MGM.
And were you excuse me, present on the night in question on the 24th when the incident is alleged to have occurred?
Yes, that's affirmative.
Okay. And on that night, did you have Boston Police detail officers on duty?
We did. Yes, we had 2.
And did you have security personnel on duty as well?
Yes, affirmative.
Are they identified by shirt or patch or something on their clothing?
Correct. All the same shirts with identification on the back of the shirt.
Stating security?
Event staff, yes.
And how many of them were on, do you know?
46.
46. And do you have any record of an incident such with this incident being reported to you, Boston Police, or your security staff on this night?
No, we have no knowledge of any complaint.
And in the case of a complaint, can you explain to the board what is done both at the time of an incident and then follow up to an incident?
Yeah, each of our staff, both guest services and event staff, are equipped with a card that we use in any complaint, any infraction, any kind of outside the normal scope that we keep on. We also have a guest services booth in the lobby that takes all complaints as well. That would be forwarded to me at the end of the night.
So there's a written report of any incident that you review at the end of the night?
Correct. We keep a log at every show, yes.
And in reviewing the records of the night in question, did any such incident as this one appear on anyone's notes or in logs or reports?
Negative, no.
Okay. Thank you. And in the case of an individual who was reporting a lost item, how would that be handled?
Lost and found is we tell them we'll take a quick look for it after the show, or if the show's still going on. But generally, we will advise them to call back the next day. We give them the number on our website as well. Call back the next day, see if it's been turned in by the cleaning company.
Okay. And to your knowledge, were any eyeglasses found either the night in question or the following day?
I have no knowledge of that, no.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Hintosh. The board may have some questions. Mr. Green, shall I just ask a few of Ms. Kelly before you question the two of them?
If there is additional testimony you wish to elicit from her, you may go ahead.
Thank you very much. Ms. Kelly, you've been sworn. Would you just please identify yourself and state your position on the record?
Hi, Matt Kelly. I'm the operations manager of MGM Music Hall.
Okay, and Ms. Kelly, were you aware on the night of February 24th of this year that the incident described in today's hearing had occurred?
No, I was not aware that night.
Okay. Well, did you become aware the following day?
Yes, we received a message from the patron called into our general office line.
And what happened as a result of that?
In the message, they stated they wanted to speak to a manager, so per usual protocol, that got forwarded over to me. I returned the phone call and, he was mostly concerned about his glasses, so I went and took a look in our lost and found, didn't find any glasses with that description. I went and took a look around the floor of, kind of where he said he was. I didn't find anything there, so I took down his information just in case they did show up. And then he gave me, a little bit more of a description of the night. But from what I can tell, he had spoken to staff only really like as he tried to enter the venue again later in the evening after he'd already left.
Okay. And did you have, was there any further follow-up that was done? Did he call back? Did he ask you to call him back? Is there any further?
No, he only asked if we found his glasses, that we reach out to him.
Okay, so you finished the phone call and that was the last you had anything to do with the incident?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am. The board may have some questions for you. Or Mr. Antosh.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Yes, can you explain to me the mosh pit situation going on? Is this something that happens often? How do you keep people safe if you allow mosh pits?
Well, it's really the floor, Madam Chair. We didn't describe it as a mosh pit. Apparently the fellow did in his report, but it's the floor of the establishment.
Okay, can you describe the security that you have on the floor?
Yeah, Mr. Antosh, can you take that, please?
Yeah, we have 6 to 8 security inside the barricade, and then we have 3 roaming teams on the floor, 3 roaming teams of two staff each.
And what are their responsibilities, Mr. Antosh?
Responsible to keep order on the floor.
Okay, so can you elaborate on that? At what point do you have security get involved if people are piling on top of each other? I'm just trying to figure out in my head what a mosh pit is and what a mosh pit isn't, and when security would get involved.
Madam Chair, just respectfully, again, that terminology was utilized to the best of our knowledge by this individual the day afterwards. He described it, not us. We don't describe it as a mosh pit. It's the floor. And I mean, we have multiple staff to keep an eye on people because it is kind of a standing room area. It is not a separated mosh pit from the 1990s. It's the floor of the establishment. And it's the standing room area.
Okay, you can go over the security again that's on the floor in the standing room area?
We have 6 to 8 staff behind the barricade, and then we have 3 roaming teams of 2, so 6 total on the floor, 1 on each side and 1 in the back.
And how many people are allowed in that area?
On the floor,
Yeah, behind the or within the barricade, whatever you're describing.
there's no patrons inside the barricade. That's just all staff. That separates the floor from the stage.
Okay, I'm referring to the area where this person was.
On the
Ms.
floor,
Kelly,
we have,
do you know what the floor capacity is? Is there a breakdown of that? Mr.
Yes.
Don or Mr. Megan?
I can look for that night, what was there specifically, but it's just under 2,000.
Okay. Okay, I have no further questions. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon.
Nothing further from me. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Board will
Thank
take
you.
this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, GHM Logan Management LLC, doing business as the Marriott Courtyard Hotel located at 225 William F. McClellan Highway in East Boston. Date of the incident, January 10th, 2023, intoxicated patron causing public nuisance, disturbance in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Steve Nayland, the general manager of the Courtyard Marriott in East Boston. Also with me is Bronca Tiek. She is my food and beverage director, and she was the MOT the night of the incident. And Michelle Brackney, who is our HR director and controller here at the hotel.
Hi.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
That would be myself, Sergeant Coughlin, with Boston Police Department.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? And all who plan to testify, please raise your right hand. Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Sergeant Coughlin. If you could please proceed with reading the police report.
Okay, this report was written on the 10th of January, 6:20 p.m. Officer Hollaback in the gold 421, along with Officer Kamel in the gold Tango 55, assisting Officer Cunningham in the gold Delta 20. Radio call, disturbance inside bar at the Marriott Hotel 225 McClellan Highway, East Boston. Arrival, the manager of the hotel stated suspect Taylor Delvecchio was causing a disturbance at the bar in the area of the hotel lobby. The suspect Delvecchio was extremely intoxicated, trying to fight people as they were attempting to sit next to her. When the staff attempted to get identification from the suspect, became irate and attempted to fight them as well. The bar staff then asked the suspect to pay her tab and leave. Suspect declined. Officers arrived, they made contact. The suspect sitting at the bar, arguing with the hotel manager. When the officers attempted to remove the suspect, became even more irate and began shouting at the officers. The officers were able to access the suspect's purse to identify the suspect. The suspect got out of her chair and got into the faces of the officers, yelling at them for going in her purse. Suspect then made her way toward the group of patrons sitting at a table near where the officers and the suspect were having their confrontation. Officer Hollaback got between the suspect and the table of patrons, trying to get the suspect to move away. Doing so, the suspect stumbled backwards onto the ground. The suspect laid on the ground for a few minutes, and the officers requested EMS. While the officers waited for Boston EMS to arrive, the suspect got off the ground, attempted to walk back towards the table of bar patrons, and then fell forward onto the ground again. The officers assisted the suspect onto her feet and had her sit on a couch nearby. While sitting on the couch, she continued to berate the officers, and when she stood up, slapped one of the officers' hands away, and he told her to sit back down. The suspect then got off the couch and attempted to run away, but then fell again near the entrance of the hotel bar area. The officers helped the suspect off the ground and got her to sit on another couch. Boston EMS arrived and transported the suspect to Mass General Hospital for further evaluation. And then a supplemental report on that. About 9:25 p.m. on Wednesday, January 11th, Officer Burns and Petrozelio in the Gold 101, along with myself, Sergeant Coughlin, conducted a licensed premise inspection of the Brinkley Restaurant and Pub located inside the Marriott Hotel at 225 McClellan Highway, East Boston. The inspection occurred due to the police report filed I number 232002573, written the day before on the 10th of January 2023 by Officer Hollaback. Officer Hollaback's report stated that the officers reported to the restaurant due to an intoxicated patron attempting to fight people sitting at the bar next to her. Upon arrival, the officers located a female body who was extremely intoxicated. During this officer's interaction with the female continued to display aggressive behavior and fell down several times due to her acute level of intoxication. EMS transported the intoxicated to National Hospital. Sergeant Coughlin, I spoke with the manager on duty, Corinne Lombardi, about the incident. Lombardi stated that she was not working on the night of the incident. However, she had heard about the incident from her sister, who was bartending that night. Lombardi stated that such incidents rarely occur at this establishment. Lombardi was cooperative and with officers, also provided the officers and sergeant with the establishment licenses. The officers observed the establishment to be calm, with approximately 18 patrons, low noise level. Sergeant Coughlin issued a license from notice 02273 to Brinkley Restaurant and Pub for intoxicated people causing public nuisance disturbance due to the incident which occurred on 1/10/23. The manager Lombardi signed and accepted the notice.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. Mr. Nayland, would you or anybody else on behalf of the licensee like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, I'll be happy to speak on behalf of the hotel. On January 10th at approximately 6:20, it was a Friday night. Rhonda Smitty was the bartender on staff. Bronca Tiak, our food and beverage director, as well as our MOD for that night, was on staff. This patron, who we found out her name through the police report, we didn't know her name. When she approached, I interviewed Rhonda Smitty and she did a statement for me. The patron went to the bar and sat down. At the time sitting down, she did not look intoxicated to Rhonda, and she ordered a glass of wine. Wanda served the wine and kept taking care of her other patrons. And as soon as she came to aware that the patron that ordered the glass of wine started harassing the female guest that was sitting beside her, Rhonda retrieved the glass of wine and gave her a glass of water. At that time, she started to increase, the patron started to increase her volume of voice. So the MOD came down and Bronca Tiak, our F&B director and MOD, tried to obtain her name. She wanted to verify that if it was a hotel guest or not. If it wasn't a hotel guest, she come here on in a vehicle. The patron did not give a name, wouldn't give a name to our MOD. And so at that point, that's when Bronca, the MOD, called the police for their assistance. The police did a fabulous job with her. She's not a hotel guest. And as I said, Rhonda did serve her a glass of wine, which she thought she was capable of receiving. But as soon as she noticed that she was arguing with the lady beside her, she pulled that glass of wine back and gave her a glass. Corrine was the bartender the next night when the officers came in and gave her story from her sister. But I feel that the police did a fabulous job for us. And my staff, the manager on duty, director F&B, and Rhonda Smitty, who's been here for about 25 years, tip certified, well-trained, did a fabulous job de-escalating this situation. And thank you very much.
Thank you for that explanation. We'll turn it over to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Was that one glass of wine the only thing this woman was served at your
Yes.
licensed premise that night?
Yes,
Okay, we have that it was a Tuesday night. You're saying it was
it
Friday
was
night?
on January 10th. Is that a Tuesday or a Friday? Oh, yeah, Tuesday. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
January.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Saxon, Commissioner Carn?
How long had she been there? Just to be clear, sorry.
She walked in and that was it, right, and sat down.
Walked in, sat down, ordered the glass of wine, and then shortly thereafter.
Yes.
Okay,
Within,
thank
yeah.
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Calling item number 5, Arguedas Corporation, located at 30 Bennington Street in East Boston, date of the incident February 12th, 2023. Overcapacity in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Boards Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody here on behalf of Arguedas Corporation, 30 Bennington?
Sorry, my phone. Hello?
Hi, yes, we can hear you. Is it?
Hi, my name, wait, I'm trying to activate the camera. My name is
Yeah.
Paula Andrea. I'm one of the managers at Bohemia's Restaurant.
Okay.
Trying to activate the camera. My phone is not working well today. For some reason, the camera doesn't have access.
On 1 second, let me see. Something just pop up. I just asked you to start video.
Yes, there we go. It still says it. I don't know why it says this application doesn't accept it.
Okay, no worries. Can you please affirm to the board that you will raise your right hand when asked to do so?
Yes.
Okay. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Michael Matera.
Tara, thank you.
Officer Franklin Ortiz.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Okay, can you all please raise your right hand? And Ms. Andrea, can you please affirm to the board that you are raising your right hand?
Yes, I'm raising my right hand.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sergeant Matera, will you be reading the police report into the record?
If you would like, sir, Officer Ortiz is the author of the report. I can read it or he can read it.
Either.
Franklin, you want to read it?
Sarge, I don't have it in hand.
Okay, I'll read it. No problem.
Thank you.
About 12:59 a.m. on Sunday, February 12th, 2023, Officers Ortiz and Ryder responded to a radio call for a disturbance involving loud music in the area of 28 Bennington Street, East Boston. Billiards Columbia and 30 Bennington Street, East Boston, Bohemios Restaurant and Bar. Officers were informed by the Boston Police Operation Dispatcher that the caller, identified as Sega, made an initial noise complaint at approximately 12:18 a.m. and her secondary noise complaint was at approximately 12:59 a.m. The caller requested that officers respond to the aforementioned locations in order to verify the extent of the noise. Upon arrival, officers did hear music coming from both locations, but it was uncertain as to how loud it actually was relative to where the caller was located. Officers requested that operations conduct a call back and requested for the caller to come to speak to officers regarding her complaint, but were advised that the caller refused to engage with officers and refused to provide their full name and address. Officers then entered Billiards Columbia, located at 28 Bennington Street in East Boston, and spoke to Mr. Feeney Perennes, who identified himself as the person in charge and kindly requested that to lower the music volume, to which he complied with. Officers conducted a patron head count at this time and determined that they were in compliance with their capacity limits. District A7 Patrol Supervisor Sergeant Matera and myself also responded to this location and determined that noise level at Bohemios Restaurant and Bar, located at 30 Bennington Street, was excessive at this time. Officers then entered 30 Bennington Street to assist myself, who conducted Code 35, which is a licensed premise inspection. Officers spoke to Miss Paula Lopera, who identified herself as the person in charge of the restaurant. Officers conducted a patron head count of 40 individuals, including the staff members, which is over their permitted capacity of 31. I issued a license inspection premise inspection notice citation number 060756 for the following violations: overcapacity and excessive loud music. That's the completion of the report.
Thank you, Sergeant Matera. Ms. Andrea, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Who? I'm sorry, I don't know if they mentioned my name.
No, but you are here representing Bohemios, correct?
Yes. But I heard somebody's name, but I didn't know if they were mentioning us. So when the officers walked into the establishment next door, I opened the door, and obviously they would hear the noise that was coming out. I welcomed them inside and I let them know that the noise wasn't loud, that I left the music at the same volume. And I walked them to the back because I figured if anybody had called for a complaint, it would be my neighbors in the back. So I told the officers if they could go with me to the back to inspect the patio so they can hear the music. And then I brought my license, which is a whole big frame, brought it to the back of the establishment. I have a very small establishment. And while we were writing the report, Officer Franklin went to do a head count, but I forgot to close. I have a push bar in my front door. So if I'm at capacity, I lock the door and I stay at the front so I can control the people that are walking out and the people that are coming in, because it's fairly small place. So when I was talking to the officers, I left the place unattended. There was a police car outside. So people at the time they walked into the establishment, it's 1:30, it's peak hour. It's the time that we start giving out the checks to people. It's the time that all other 6 establishments close. So at the moment that I was talking to the officers, people walked into the establishment. So I do understand that Officer Franklin did a head count. I let him know that I was at capacity when they walked in and that the people that were walking in were not patrons at the moment. They were just walking in to say hi and because there wasn't somebody at the door. But I understand that 41 was what he needed, or 40 was what he put in his report. And he said, I have to write it down and I'm going to a hearing, but those people were not inside the establishment at the moment that the officer walked in. We were at capacity and I think the music wasn't that loud. It was the fact that it was 1:30 and everybody shuts off at the same time. So I actually left the music on purpose so I could walk them to the back of the establishment and show them that it wasn't that loud, because we're very meticulous about music. We're in a neighborhood that's very commercial, but we also have a lot of residentials around us, so we keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Officer Ortiz, could I mention something?
Mhm.
I could attest to that. To the best of my recollection, that the door was, I believe that the door was not attended, and there was, from my peripheral vision, because it's tough. There's a lot of people outside. From my peripheral vision, I believe I noticed that there was people going in and out that weren't really being like held back. So there's a good possibility that there was, people that weren't part of that, the original head count that probably entered the establishment before the head count was conducted. So there's a good possibility that the head count's not accurate because of that.
And I do understand the position. We did talk to the staff afterwards and explain to them that in case of anything going on, and if we needed to control, there is a small thing in the push bar and it's above the door. So if there's any incident where there's something going on outside and we need to prevent people from coming in, we train them to use that push bar as a safety mechanism. And because at that moment, it was my negligence. I was aware that but it was 1:30, everybody was leaving already, everybody was cashing out. So I just wanted to attend the officers' concerns because they were concerned about somebody who had made a call. I think it was a targeted call because we tried to get the person to show up, but I collaborated as much as I could.
Thank you, Ms. Andrea. We'll turn it to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Carter, Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
Just a quick question. How many staff people were in the establishment at the time?
3, somebody behind the bar, myself, and another server.
Thank you.
It's a very small establishment.
Thank you. If there are no further questions from the board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 6, James Associates, Inc., doing business as The Broadway, located at 734 East Broadway in South Boston. Gave the incident March 11th, 2023. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is anybody present on behalf of The Broadway? We will take a second call. Calling item number 7, Putt Shack Boston Seaport LLC, doing business as Putt Shack, located at 58 Pier 4 Boulevard. Dated the incident March 5th, 2023. Patron on patron, assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Carrie Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Moriarty.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. McQueen, you have not identified yourself?
Yeah, I was one of the managers on duty, sorry.
And Ms. Henderson, if you could also please raise your hand. And sorry, Mr. Garcia, there are suddenly a bunch of people raising their hands who have not identified themselves. Please identify yourself to the board before I swear you in.
Evan Myers, one of the hospitality directors on hand as well during the incident.
Thank you.
Anthony Garcia, Technology Manager, during the incident also.
Thank you very much. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Detective Moriarty, if you could please proceed with the police report.
On Sunday, March 5th, 2023 at 12:57 a.m. officers respond to a radio call for a fight at 58 Pier 4 Boulevard, the Putt Shack. Upon arrival, officers were led upstairs by staff who stated there was a fight that took place on the second floor of the establishment. Staff noted there was an existing party on the second floor. Also note the individuals who were involved in the fight, all parties declined EMS. One victim stated he was punched in the face by a male described as a black male, 5'9" dreadlocks. The victim stayed while waiting for a game to open up. The two parties were involved in a verbal dispute over a spilled beverage. Victim stated he was struck by the suspect, resulting in both parties getting involved. The other parties involved were not on scene when officers arrived. Sergeant Telly responded to the scene and issued code 35, a license premise violation number 58827. The officers canvassed the area to no avail for the suspects. There was minimal further follow-up investigation based on the nature of the incident and the lack of a description. So no criminal charges were taken. I didn't write the license premise violation, but there was nothing in the report to indicate that the management was not cooperative. So I would assume that they were, based on there was not the detailed report and the fact that there was nothing to mention that they were not cooperative.
Great, thank you very much. Ms. Henderson, would you or anybody else from the licensed premise like to address the alleged incident?
My managers are going to talk about the situation that night. I was not present.
Thank you. Would somebody from the licensed premise like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, if I could start off, I was the one who placed the call. So we have about 4 courses, and on the Emerald course, we got word of an incident from one of our associates, and we had heard that kind of an altercation was brewing up. At that moment, we alerted one of the 2 security guards we had on premise, and we had them come up kind of to assess the situation. By that point, the altercation had started between the 2 parties. So from then, one of the security guards had instructed me, suggested that we call the police just because of the nature of the incident. It wasn't a single guest on guest, it was a couple people. And from there, I had called the police as they kind of moved toward the door area as the altercation was kind of easing up. And when they got down there, by the time the police had arrived, one of the groups had already left, and we had the second group that wanted to talk to the police.
Thank you. Anything further from the licensee before we move to questions from the board? Okay. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions of the licensee or the detective?
Can you just explain to me, so you heard the altercation from downstairs and went upstairs to respond to it, or was there someone upstairs when this happened?
No, I was upstairs when that happened.
Okay, and then you called the police. Did you break up the fight? Did get additional people to help you? What happened?
So that was the security team that had really taken the charge on that. We have a contracted group that does that.
How many security team do you have?
2 on premises.
Okay. And then as they were removing them from the premise, what did they do? Did they separate the parties? What did they do?
They separated the parties. Yes, they one of them, there was 4 and 4. So again, it is a bit of a difficult situation to kind of separate those people. However, they were able to do that. And then one party left the venue as the police arrived.
And do you have video?
No, we do not. We do not have video.
Do you have video cameras though?
Yes, we do.
No video from that night, or what happened?
No, just it recorded over that after. By the time we received notice of the violation, it recorded over.
How many days is your video?
14.
Okay. What's your policy if there's like a large fight involving 8 people? Do you only save the video if the police show up, or what?
No, this was we're fairly new. We opened up in October. This was our first altercation that we had. We have not had one since then. Since this altercation, we have definitely stepped up security. And we now have like people roaming the courses throughout the night. And we've added more security on the second floor. But moving forward, if there is some sort of altercation like that, yes, we will be recording it moving forward.
I have no other questions.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
You got your inspection notice that evening, correct?
No, I believe we didn't get anything that evening. It was hand delivered to us.
Sergeant Tully did the licensed premise inspection notice that evening.
That's
Right?
that's what it says in the report, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know there was gonna be a hearing though, or that I'd have, when I received it in the mail, is when I was notified of the hearing.
Who received the license inspection notice that evening?
Evan, was that you?
I believe that would be me, but I didn't know it was a court hearing. I believe I reported it. I believe it was just I thought it was just an incident report as far as it went. I believe I reported it. Give me 1 second. I can see if I have anything as far as it goes. As far as it goes. So yeah, we did receive it and I did send it. But I didn't realize it was as far as for the incident. I just have the license premise inspection notice. But I didn't realize it would be a court case as well. I do have it sent where it says we cooperated with police. I have a copy of it.
Okay. And just for clarity, what was going on prior to this? Like between the parties? Like how long did they interact with each other before it came to blows?
From my recollection, it was kind of one of those immediate things that happened. Someone had knocked over one of their drinks and then it just went further from there.
All right. Did you see this or did you get that information from somebody?
Got the information from somebody else.
All right. And what did that person say? How long have they been observing the parties?
That was actually one of the members of the party that was there.
Yeah. How long had they been observing those parties?
No, it was a member of the actual part. Like,
okay.
His name was Pedro Rodriguez. I believe Sergeant Tully talked to him afterwards, as well.
And it was over a drink.
I believe so. Yeah, it was a drink that had been knocked over, and then it just devolved from there. The situation moved on.
Okay. Nothing else at this moment. Thank you.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Anything further from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you. Calling item number 9, the Black Rose Inc. doing business as Black Rose located at 160 State Street. Date of the incident, March 17th, 2023. Overcrowding, 235 mechanical count, 193 capacity. In violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Sheldon Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am Detective Hernandez.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
I do.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. You may please proceed with the police report.
Good morning. We're reading from a police report which I wrote on Friday, March 17, 2023. Lieutenant Detective Adrian Troy, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD License Premise Unit, along with A1 detectives, Sergeant Salucci, Sergeant Detective Byron, Detective Conley, conducted a license premise inspection of the Black Rose located at 160 State Street in Boston. As detectives walked inside the establishment, detectives asked the front door staff how many patrons they currently have. The staff member stated that they had a count of 193 patrons. While reviewing the licenses and permits of the establishment, detectives learned the capacity of the premise is set at 193. Lieutenant Detective Troy performed the mechanical count of the establishment, discovered that the actual number of persons located inside the premise was 235. Detective brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Michael Glenn. Mr. Glenn stated that he would immediately correct the would immediately bring the establishment into compliance. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license inspection notice 060194 for overcrowding of the establishment. Mr. Glenn signed for and accepted the notice. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. Would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yeah, I mean, it was St. Patrick's Day. I don't know. We really didn't get to the bottom of how it got away from them on the count of people coming in, other than, it was busy from open to close. And they did correct the situation immediately when it was brought to their attention. And just as normal operating procedure, I mean, we take it very seriously on the capacity for obviously public safety reasons, but also it doesn't do us any good to overcrowd because it hurts our business in general. Just if it's too crowded in there, people can't, go to the bar, can't get around the place. So it's just not a good business practice in general for any number of reasons. I think Sergeant Gallagher and Officer Hernandez can attest that they've inspected the places we run quite often, and we do take it very seriously.
Thank you for that. We'll move to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
Can you remind me how many people were working the door that night? I know you mentioned.
It was our whole staff. There's probably 3 or 4 people outside keeping an eye at the front door, the line, everything. There's probably 6 or 7 inside at least throughout the day.
Okay, I have no other questions.
Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
None for me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the item for informational hearing, we'll take a second call for item number 6. Has anybody joined from the Broadway?
Yes, Matthew Verzi, the area manager.
I don't know who else is.
Great, thank you very much. Is it possible to turn your camera on so we can swear you in? And in the meantime, while you're doing that, I will read the item back into the record. James Associates, Inc., doing business as the Broadway, located at 734 East Broadway in South Boston, date of the incident, March 11th, 2023. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, patron on patron, in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Can you please identify yourself to the board once again?
Matthew Verzi, I'm the area manager for Broadway Hospitality Group.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Moriarty.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Detective Moriarty. If you could please proceed with the police report.
Yes, this report was authored by Patrolman Stephen Smigliani on Saturday, March 11th, 2023. Officer Smigliani responded to the Broadway at 726 East Broadway for an assault report. Upon arrival, he spoke to the victim, Paige McEachran, who stated she had a verbal argument with the suspect, Gina Pofado, who she knows is a friend of a friend. McEachran stated that the two had words with each other inside the bar. Soon after, the suspect threw a glass at her, striking her in the face, on the upper nose, and made a laceration between her eyes. Smigliano observed the injury. She declined EMS, but would later go to the hospital and stated she would get herself to the hospital for medical attention. The suspect fled the scene prior to police arrival. The manager, Matt Verzi, stated that he observed the suspect throw a glass at the victim and provided aid to the victim. Myself, Detective Swain, and Sergeant Hines responded as well. Later that at about 9:23 the same day, myself and Detective Swain responded to the bar and conducted a code 35 inspection and issued violation number 25873 for patron assault and battery dangerous weapon. A suspect was identified, a warrant was sought, the suspect's been arrested, and the case is going to the criminal court system. The Broadway was very cooperative that evening. They assisted the victim, they assisted the police, and I was able to retrieve video evidence, or at least look at video evidence, which I was able to observe, and they sent to me. Unfortunately, the video evidence did not show the altercation, just the aftermath. And that's just a matter of the location of the cameras, but they did assist in every way possible. That's all.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Verzi, would you like to address the alleged incident?
I mean, it was, it happened in the back bar area. I happened to be there. There was a group in the back that was actually being escorted out by security. It was a group of probably 5 or 6 people as we were escorting them out. So it was myself and 2 other security that we had on that night. 2 of the girls got an altercation. One of the girls, it looked like she went to throw her drink in the other girl's face. The glass slipped out of her hand, at least in my opinion, and then it hit her in the face. She started bleeding, which obviously made her very upset. We brought her to the front. We provided some emergency supplies for her to try to stop the bleeding. There was an officer nearby that we flagged down, asked her if she needed assistance, wanted to file a report, or wanted us to call an ambulance, which she refused on all accounts. But like Detective Moriarty had stated, the suspect that was there who threw the glass immediately ran out of the building. So basically, at that point, we were just trying to take care of the other patron.
Thank you for that, Mr. Verzi. I will move to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
Was there anything anything that was observed by any staff that leading up to this incident that may have caused you to think this could happen?
There wasn't, not between these particular patrons. Like I said, there was a group of 5 or 6 that I can't remember if they were part of that group or not, that we had we had asked them to leave because they were being loud and weren't listening to management, pounding on tables and just being unruly. So security was there to help escort them out, and that's sort of when it happened. And we couldn't identify at that point if those 2 girls were part of the group. I know they were acquaintances, but it wasn't clear if they were part of that same group or not, but they were in that same general area.
Okay. No other questions. Thanks.
No questions from me. Yeah, no question.
None for me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the licensed premise inspection hearing for this morning. The remaining item is an informational hearing. The licensee is Nuwa Liquors, Inc., doing business as Walsh Wine and Spirits, located at 388 Washington Street in Brighton. This is an informational hearing to review the licensee's operational plan regarding the verification of patron identifications. The board held hearings on March 7th and April 25th for service of alcohol to patrons under 21 years of age. Following the April 25th hearing, the board requested the submission of an operations plan detailing how the licensee will verify patron identifications. This informational hearing is an opportunity for the licensee to walk through that plan and for the board to ask any questions it may have about the plan and its implementation. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, board. I'm Stephanie Boudreau, counsel for the licensee, and I'm here with Niroj Shretha, who is the manager of record of Walsh Liquors.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being with us this morning. Before the board asks any questions, the floor is yours to walk through the plan or make any statements regarding the plan or its implementation to the board.
So I'll just speak a little bit on behalf of the licensee. We have submitted the memo. All of the items in the memo have been adhered to, and there has been a significant improvement. There have been no issues, no fake IDs taken. No fake IDs taken. Each time somebody who appears even remotely under the age of 21 enters, 2 forms of ID are requested. They are compared with each other to match
ID and another.
the ID and another form of ID. That's right. And after the last hearing, the police did come in and took all of the fake IDs from Mr. Shretha. So those are off premise. And again, there haven't been any issues. The police haven't been back, and things seem to be running much more smoothly.
Thank you for that, Attorney Boudreau. I will move to the board to see if there are any questions regarding the plan as submitted. Chairman Joyce, any questions?
I just wanted to reiterate the fact that you can't depend on these scanners you can rely on them to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, if they're wrong or if you haven't updated them, you are responsible for whether or not you serve to an underage person. You can't just buy these things and use it as a defense if should you get written up again. I want to make sure you understand that.
Yeah, I do. So first of all, when I see like a younger age kids, we just take the IDs and scan it, and we just match their ID, and another second form of ID is match. Then we give, otherwise we just refuse them to sell.
And what kind of backup IDs do you accept?
So some kinds of ID card, like if they I credit card, debit card, and if they go to college ID.
Okay, so do you accept backup IDs without photographs?
Well, with if they have college ID with photographs, or otherwise, if there's a debit card, credit card without photograph, and we match the name
Okay.
on the ID and the debit or credit card.
And can I ask you, the people that are checking IDs in your establishment, how do you train them?
Oh, they have an app of every employee's phone, and they just open the app and scan the ID.
Okay.
And it allows it's real or fake.
And then, sorry, and then you also train your employees. How do you
Yes.
train your employees to do the matching?
Do the math, it's just easy. Just take the app, open the app, and put the ID back of the ID and scan it. It takes automatically. But we told them, don't scan the ID near the customer. Sometimes it comes fake. They just grab and walk away. So we have to keep the fake ID. So we just put a little bit away from them and scan the ID. It comes fake. We just show the phones, your ID is fake. I have to keep the ID. You have to go out.
And presently, there's only one other employee who works at Walsh's Liquors with Mr. Shratta.
You only have 2 employees?
Yeah.
Who is the other employee? Is it someone that's worked there for a long time?
Which one?
Is there the other employee, has he worked there for a long time?
No. I had this new employee. They work for 3 or 4 months.
How old is that person?
He's 22.
Okay. It just, you're in a neighborhood that attracts college kids and underage kids. And you need to be acutely aware of that when your employees are checking IDs. And you can't always rely on that. It's a big problem in this neighborhood, and it's something that the licensed premise unit is aware of. And the app is not going to stop this from happening, so you have to be extra vigilant as a manager. I'm going to ask Sergeant Gallagher, do you have any questions or comments that you could share, or best practices?
Yes, ma'am. We had been in there, myself and Detective Hernandez, after our initial hearings, and they are doing a better job. They're using what we use. I know their prior scanner was not that good. One issue we have had is there's a school in the neighborhood that we're not going to name. A lot of their students seem to have their eye on the place, and we were down there on one occasion, and a gentleman of age did walk into the store with 2 underage. They proceeded to, grab their purchases. They went up to the register. Only one person was scanned. The helpers that we talked to outside were not 21 years of age, and they were accompanied by a group of 4 or 5 that were around the corner that were also underage. So he has to be vigilant in who walks in the store, and these kids are passing passports. Some of them are international, so that doesn't scan. But if 3 or 4 people do walk into the store and they're carrying purchases up to the register, they all have to be carded, not just the person that's putting up the cash or the credit card payment. And once again, credit cards, that's not a form of ID. That's just a credit card.
Right.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran, Commissioner Saxon, any further questions for the licensee?
I'd actually like to see that all parties ID'd policy put into the one with the board. So we have that on file. I think that is appropriate and we expect that. So if we could write that up and have that amended into what they've already submitted. Second, I think it's kind of been danced around a little bit, but the credit card as a second form of ID doesn't work anymore. These aren't IDs that the underage individual has gotten from someone else that kind of looks like them or something else that has completely different information. Most of these IDs are bought online, and almost every bit of information about the individual is correct except the year of birth. So their real day and month of birth is on it, their real address, everything is real. So you can't compare it, and they're going to have a credit card with their own name on it. So using a credit card as a means to double check the ID, it doesn't work anymore. So we need to find a different way. I mean, with young looking patrons, you can always turn them away. You can tell them to come back another day when they've procured a mass liquor ID to go along with their home state's ID. You need to have some awareness of, if you're going to take out of state IDs or things like that, you have to have some awareness about, how to check them, what these IDs are, what the security features they have. You have to have some way to cross-reference to say, this looks like a good New York ID, or this was not a good New York ID, something like that. So by accepting anything other than the statutory ones, we're not going to have we haven't had strict liability in the past, but obviously we looked, if they're not the statutorily protected, reasonable reliance on a Massachusetts or a military ID or a passport, you take the risk of accepting those. So you should take proper steps with the greater risk of accepting those. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Saxon. Anything further?
I'm just curious, is the employee that's working for you, is he there by himself at any time, or are you always with him?
No, couple hours I will with them, and after that, like they will by themselves. So it's not like that much busy, so they can handle by themselves.
Just want to make sure that he's as trained as you are in being very strong and holding to the line of making sure that all IDs are checked.
Yes, that's what they did. They collect all the IDs in the evening time. So now the sergeant got the fake IDs. They was collected by them, so they are pretty well trained as me.
Sergeant Gallagher.
Well, I just want to add, I'm not sure if this is a coincidence or a shift, but last night we're out and we're at a licensed premise, and every ID that we looked at that the bar had taken from the kids actually was a real ID. So we're noticing a shift that it looks like that the bars and restaurants are doing a better job, especially the ones that are scanning. So we're seeing now that people are loaning IDs to people at a greater rate than we'd previously seen. Kids will go out there, buy the fake IDs, but now they know that we're kind of getting on them a little bit. So it could be just a coincidence, but last night, 5 IDs, not the actual license holder, but they were valid IDs. So just want to make sure that they actually look at the picture and say, hey, this is not you, or this is you, and question it. Just don't rely on the scanner. Just, do the extra bit, and I think everything will work out.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, this problem probably won't come back till September. You probably have a quiet summer. The college kids will start landing probably the end of August, and you'll see a pickup.
Yeah, you told me last time, so we are already prepared for that.
Yeah, seasonal.
Yeah,
it's a seasonal issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we already ready for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments from the board? Anything further from the licensee?
Just to say thank you so much for your time and consideration and guidance for the licensee. He takes everything to heart and will, has been and will continue to really do the best he can in following the board's guidelines.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it sounds like the board will be seeking a revision of the plan as discussed, as hinted by Commissioner Curran. I imagine the board will discuss this at our Thursday voting hearing. We'll be back in touch with what the board's looking for. With that, thank you very much. And those are all the items before the board this morning. So thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.